back to the news today. This is the Daily Debate. Only 6 days left until the March 31st deadline to agree on the framework to continue the nuclear talks between the P5+1 and Iran. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and his Iranian counterpart are back in Lausanne, Switzerland today. And as both the American and the Iranian sides are showing careful optimism, there's also clarified that gaps remain and a deal is uncertain. The question is still how connected is the Iranian involvement in Yemen, Iraq, and Syria to the upcoming agreement. With me, although they really want to speak about Iran tonight, about Yemen tonight, is Iranian politics analyst Meir Javedanfar. Good evening.
Good evening.
I know. Okay, you can speak about Yemen if you want.
Thank you.
And senior Middle East analyst Ali Waked. Good evening. You can also speak about Yemen if you want. But before we asked our viewers about Iran, yes, Ayman.
Good evening, Lucy, and good evening to our guests in the studio. Well, ahead of the highly anticipated deadline for the Iran agreements next week, we wanted to focus on the meaning of this possible deal for the Middle East specifically. So we put the question to our viewers. We asked them, should halting Iran's military expansion in Mideast be part of a nuclear deal? And we had some strong views from our viewers today in the comments section. But first, let's take a look at the results of our poll. As you can see, Lucy, 75%, that's an overwhelming majority, voted yes, that this should be part of the deal. Only 22% voted no. Moving on now to a few comments, we begin with David, who wrote, "It should be, but it is not on the table right now, and the world seems to fear pushing Iran. But if tighter sanctions would be imposed, then the Iranian military, nuclear options, and terrorist funding would be greatly hampered." So he brings up a highly controversial issue here. How many sanctions should be imposed on Iran as part of the deal? Next up, Gary looks at the main force behind the possible deal, and that's the U.S. He says, how crazy have things gotten under Obama? Saudis are bombing Iran-backed rebels in Yemen, and the U.S. is bombing positions in Iraq, aiding Iran-backed militias. A real mess in the Middle East, Lucy. And lastly, Beatrice is one of the few optimists today. She writes, everyone is criticizing the deal before we even know the details. Obama said he will not accept a bad deal. It's in the interest of the U.S. to maintain calm in the Middle East, she says. So I think halting Iran's nuclear power in the region is on its agenda anyway. Only 6 more days to go before a deal, Lucy, but it seems views on Iran's intentions are as contested as ever. I'm sure your guests will have more to say on this issue. Lucy, sending it back to you.
Yes, of course, my guests always have more to say about the issue, but they have more to say about Yemen today. Meir Javedanfar, let's talk about Iran, because we will speak about Iran in the next 6 days. But nothing is actually happening.
Today there was nothing new. They sat down, they talked. Thankfully, they didn't go for a walk together, because the last time they went for a walk together, it led to a complete rebuttal and condemnation from the Iranian hardline press. And Secretary of State Kerry didn't go for a bike ride either. So, it was just a groundhog day, really, when it comes to the Iranian nuclear negotiations.
It seems that on the Iranian nuclear negotiations, nothing is really progressing, but Iran is progressing strongly in the Middle East and doing some really big moves. And the question is, can it or can it not affect the negotiations at the end of the day?
Well, I think that today we maybe saw the first bullet or the first step in trying to stop this Iranian expansion in the and progress in the region. Nobody expected this kind of Saudi reaction to the fact that Yemen fall down totally, almost totally, in the hand of the Houthi Iran allies in Yemen. Lucy, and it would be interesting to see whether there are consequences in Lausanne of what is happening in Yemen, and whether the situation in Yemen will have its influence and its impact over the talks in Lausanne. Because on the other hand, we saw that on the first hand, the U.S. put its intelligence information at the service of the Saudi coalition in Yemen, and on the other hand, today it was maybe the first time that the Americans, in a very public way, participated in the Iraqi effort in Tikrit in Iran, and it is an American way to balance between its rapprochement with Iran and the need to send a clear message to the Arab Sunni that this rapprochement is not on behalf of the Arab moderate countries. And above all, it would be very much interesting to see whether the Iranians are going to harden their position in Lausanne in order to bring American concessions in Yemen.
Is it going, because, you know, when we're seeing, and we started talking about this in the beginning of the show, when the Americans are playing a double game here between Saudi Arabia and between Iran, at the end of the day, I don't think that the Iranians are that stupid not to notice that maybe the United States, and I want to be optimistic that the United States is not that blind to see what is happening right now in the Middle East.
You know, when there was, during the Iran-Iraq war, apparently Henry Kissinger said that shame both sides can't lose. And now we see the same day America is helping Shiite government of Iraq kill Sunnis in Tikrit, and helping the Sunni government of Saudi Arabia attack Houthis who are related to Shia in the Middle East. I'm sure this is not lost on anybody, what's going on there. I think one of the reasons Ali quite rightly said, I agree with you 100%, I think there are a number of factors behind the timing of this attack by the Saudis. One of them was that they're witnessing what's happening in Tikrit. I think actually in a way they may have been emboldened by the fact that Iran has now pulled away from Tikrit because they couldn't get the job done. 30,000 Shiite soldiers could not liberate Tikrit. How many people are there in Tikrit? About 1,000 terrorists from ISIS, and now the Iraqis who initially didn't want the Americans involved have gone and say to them, look, please, actually, we do need you. Can you come and help us? And I think another reason why they did this to Saudis today is because they want to reduce Iran's bargaining position in the nuclear negotiations.
This is a clear message to the United States.
I think,
this is a big message to the United States.
The Saudis have been, if I can use the expression, spitting blood in anger towards the United States. I mean, they're not just angry, the Saudis.
They're actually acting like Israel would like to act, if it could.
Well, according to foreign press, that Israel has been acting in Syria, according to the Washington Post. The Saudis are extremely angry with the Americans. They saw a red line. They drew the red line over Bahrain when there was a Bahrain uprising. They sent their tanks in at the request of the Bahraini government. And now apparently they're going into Yemen. Will it change Iran's position in the short term? No, it won't. Again, Iran is there. Number one reason is the economy. And this is nothing to do. And actually, what did happen? Actually helped Iran's economy because the price of oil went up.
Lucy, important parts in the Saudi leadership believe that the Iranian nuclear file or Iran nuclear project is not a real project, and the aim of Iran at the end of the day to give up its nuclear project, and on the other hand to gain from the international community its status, its place as the #1 address, as the #1 partner of the West, of the superpower in the Middle East and in the region.
They are bluffing?
I don't think they are bluffing, but they will be ready to give up their nuclear plan if there is a very generous offer from the West on the political level, on the regional level, but mainly in giving the Iranian their prestige as maybe the most important partner in the region, more important than Saudi Arabia, more important, of course, than Egypt and other places, and in taking Iran interest into consideration. What I heard from an Iranian newspaper who is in the opposition, he said that the Saudis, the Iranians, will not are not enthusiastic to have mass destruction arms, and this goes against their ideology. This goes against the Islam in the way that the Iranian see it, and they would be ready to give up big parts of their nuclear plan if they are receiving, on the other hand, an American acceptance or legitimization of their control of parts, important parts in the region.
I wanted to think with you. Okay, let's imagine that we are in a poker game, because it seems like these negotiations are like poker. And let's imagine that maybe Iran read the map of the Middle East, or about what is happening in the Middle East, better than anyone. And let's imagine maybe that Iran, like you said, the purpose was not the nuclear issue. We don't want any nuclear weapon. What we want is land. What we want is to be the next Islamic Republic of the Muslim world. What we want is to be the Saudi Arabia of the Muslim world. And in the, let's say, the running time, and as we're seeing what is happening, they're gaining time with the nuclear talks. But at the end of the day, what they really want is to take control on more and more land in the Islamic world.
Well, Ayatollah Khomeini, one of his main goals was he described the Islamic Republic as the defender of the mustazafin, the oppressed, especially the Muslim mustazafin around the world whose rights have been taken away. And this is one of the major selling points of the revolution. This is why initially, it really got the Saudi government and other countries worried about Iran's revolution. But you can say that. But then, when you go and support Bashar al-Assad, who has killed more Muslims than any other leader in this century, if I'm not mistaken, in this part of the world, that is a clear contradiction. And that's not going to work. Iran has gone badly. Its plans for becoming a major power in the Muslim world have gone extremely badly in Syria. And I think today the fact that 10 countries supported the Saudi attack against Yemen, including, apparently, if I'm not mistaken, the Pakistanis, who are Iran's neighbor. They're considering, and not more important than that, Turkey. Erdogan, do you remember I was in this studio, we said that the Saudis got Erdogan on board? To have two of Iran's neighbors, Erdogan, Turkey, and Pakistan, supporting the Saudis in this attack. 10 countries, not to mention other Arab countries, including Jordan and Egypt, goes to show that it's gone very wrong in Iran if in its plans to become a major player in the Arab world and to be seen as the defender. Iran today is the defender of Shia. It is not the defender of the Sunni, and defender of Shia where it suits its geostrategic interests. Because every other week we hear about massacre of Shias in Pakistan, Iran doesn't do anything about it.
Yes, I think, Lucy, that still I think that the Iranian, in case that there is a very generous offer, will not totally and historically give their will to be a part of the nuclear club, but there are many ways to be part of the nuclear club. One of them is to bring the international community to admit that Iran will have nuclear energy for civil goals. But I think that the Iranian want to strengthen their position. I do agree with Meir first as defender of the Shiites in the Middle East, but the Iranian are also Persians, and as Persians they have a larger vision than being only Shiite. Iran all the time, and Ahmadinejad was maybe the most important representative lately of this vision. We are the Persian. We are the ancestors of the Persian Empire, and we will bring back the Persian Empire to the situation, to the status it was in the region, a very major, important player in the region.
So this is one important correction here. Ali, you're right that Ahmadinejad tried to play on the Persian characteristic of Iran, but he got badly shot down. I mean, this was one of the major reasons why the hardliners were against him. To the Iranians, to the regime people in Iran, to the people who are in charge of the places such as the Guardian Council, Iran's Islamic character is far, far more important. Some of them even see nationalism as something that can threaten the Islamic nature of Iran, which is what they see as the central DNA of the Islamic Republic of Iran. What Iran is doing today, it's far more to do with Islam than to do with Iran's Persian nature. Let's not forget, Iran is supporting Arabs in Yemen. Let me give you a perfect example, and I'm sorry, this is a very sad example. Do you remember Mohammed Bouazizi? The gentleman who started, the Tunisian. He was a fruit vendor. He set himself on fire, and because they took his and then he started. Okay, last week, an Iranian Arab, I can't remember his name, in the city of Khorramshahr, street vendor. They take his fruit stand away. Sets himself on fire. His parents want to fly him to Tehran. The regime refuses to fly him. They take him by ambulance. It takes 2 days from Khorramshahr to get to Tehran for him to get treatment. And at the end of the day, he dies. There was a suicide bombing in a Yemeni mosque, okay, by ISIS. All the injured were flown from Yemen to Iran. Iran cares more about Yemeni Arab than our own Arabs in Iran, who are supposed to be Iranian. This is the nationalism card is not a major, and this is one of the major gripes. People try to bring it, even Ahmadinejad tried to bring it, but the regime won't allow it to happen.
And at the end of the day, what you're saying is that the regime is forgetting about his own people.
The regime has forgotten about its own people, but do we have time? I just want to add one more point.
The 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Yemen was before North and South. It could split again, but this time it could become Iranian Yemen and Saudi Yemen.
Perfect. A lot of bad news in this edition today, gentlemen. Thank you very, very much. Have a great weekend. And we're going out for a small break, 2 minutes, and then we will be back.